following is a presentation of KSL Sports. Hello, Cougar Nation.
Handoff middle. First down. Touchdown! And listen to the Cougar Nation.
Every Monday night, we break down the Cougars' last game and look ahead to next week. Cougar Nation, brought to you by Central Bank. Here's BYU insider Mitch Haper and Matt Baiamonte on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
Good evening, Cougar Nation. Mitch Haper, Matt Baiamonte with you. We're coming to you live from Broadcast House in Salt Lake City. BYU football is 3-0. Can you believe it? A team that had only predictions about 4 wins. They've already got to 3 wins, 3-0 on the 2024 season. And we want to hear from you, Cougar Nation, on what this 3-0 start means. What gives you confidence this year's 3-0 start for BYU football will lead to more success in the Big 12 play? We'll discuss that, Matt, but a loaded show for you tonight as the Cougs get a win on the Front Range.
You know the drill, Cougar Nation, 801-575-8255. You can text us as well. 57500. Chime in on our question of the day or any thoughts about this 3-0 BYU football team. Like we do every single Monday night, Mitch, let's start things off with our takeaways from the win on the plains of Laramie.
Cougar Nation, takeaways. Mitch and Matt analyze BYU's last week of play and what it means for the next week.
I'll start things off, Mitch. Lot to take away from this game. 34-14. I would have loved if it was 41-14. I was hoping they would let Gary throw a touchdown pass on that final drive. Did not happen. That's fine. I'm nitpicking a little. 34-14, still a solid win. I thought the passing game bounced back in a big way, Mitch. Jake almost throws for 300 yards, 22 of 36. Quarterback rating of 151. You throw in his 62 yards rushing as well, which could have been 100 if there wasn't a questionable hold call on that 40-yard scamper in the middle of the game. We're talking about almost a 400-yard total yard performance for Jake. But it was the passing that I felt needed to improve because against SMU, it took a big step back. And they can't pass like they did against the Mustangs and be a good football team. If you can pass for high 200s, low 300s, you've got a chance to upset some people this year. I really liked how the passing game improved this week.
That's one of my takeaways, too, is that Jake did improve just collectively, the passing game, but also on the ground with his ball security. Kalani said, don't lose the stinking football or whatever it was, paraphrasing, and he didn't. He didn't put it on the turf. But I will say, Jake, when it came to passing the football, he did have some close calls.
Yep. And
a little bit too close for comfort at times in the first half, but he was resilient. I kind of wonder though, Wyoming might be worse than Southern Illinois.
Yeah,
they are pretty bad, and that might be the worst Wyoming football team I've ever seen assembled. And I remember those years in the Mountain West, but they treated them like they were a bad football team. Even Chase Roberts in the postgame said they probably should have won 60-0. So they felt like they maybe missed out on some opportunities. But I do believe Jake, performed well in that game, and he himself said he had some fun in Laramie.
Oh, it was a super fun place to play. Actually, I like the stadium. I like the environment. Hostile, of course, but that's what you get on the road no matter what. We did a good job getting out front early, so we didn't have to hear the worst of it. I think that's key on the road. But, yeah, I think it was a cool environment to play in. I like the stadium. Laramie grew on me a little bit this weekend.
Hey, that's kind of him.
Yeah, great.
Did not grow on me.
Hey, these kind of road trips are always more enjoyable when you just handily beat a team. Yes. There's really not a whole lot to be discouraged about. You came in, did what you needed to do, won comfortably, and moved on. Good for this BYU football team. Kalani, Mitch, thought that the team improved from one week to the next. I thought the same thing.
Happy we're 3-0, and proud of the team. Thought the energy, effort, all the stuff that we want from our guys showed up, and it didn't go perfectly, but some really good things to work on and some really good things to get better. I feel like we got better from last week to this week, and looking forward to making an improvement from this week to the next.
Did this interview happen because you were there under an underpass? Was this on I-80?
Yeah, the cowboy rifle in the background. No, that was it was like a wrestling mat getting unfoiled. It was in the old basketball arena for Wyoming, their auditorium. But yes, the audio, the sound environment for that was not the best in Laramie. But hey, the accommodations, they were what they were.
My next takeaway, and this might be a deep cut because there's a lot of directions to go. You could go defensively, where they held Wyoming to 217 yards, although the third down conversion percentage not quite as good as I would have liked. 7 of 18 for the Pokes. Would have loved that to have been maybe sub 30% because BYU's third down percentage. And this is a problem. We don't need to dwell on the problems because you won 34-14, but 2 of 11? I know that they had a couple fourth down conversions as well, but that's not good enough, Mitch, when it comes to Big 12 play. However, back to the positive takeaways. Pokai Haunga, wow, that dude really popped in the running game. Miles Davis couldn't get anything going, 8 of 15. Jake was running well, which is great, but you need some kind of compliment. I like Sione Moa as well, but Pokai had a next level, and I loved his shiftiness. He reminded me a little bit of Falau Rapati when he's in the open field. Those are the only 2 guys on this roster from a running back perspective, Mitch, that can sharp cut and make people miss. I thought he brought a nice new element to this running game, and I feel like you got to play this dude more because he is capable of busting off an explosive play at any given moment.
I agree. It's just unfortunate that he has to play because,
Yes.
man, BYU has been banged up. Enoch Nawahine was going through pregame warmups. He was suited up, and then he's not playing. And then he's banged. Come to find out, he got banged up in practice last week. And BYU has had to dig into their depth. The pecking order was Miles Davis, Sione Aimoa, and then Pokai Honga. So you're talking about the 6th-string running back, Pokai, looking like a stud. And, I think they ideally wanted to redshirt him this season, but that is clearly not an option. And his talent, you're right. He did show some good flashes, and he was involved in that trick play where you have to have a lot of confidence. And when you toss it back to Jake to make that play happen, you better know your assignment. You better know what to do. And he did, and he came out with a lot of confidence. He was not fazed by the moment. So Pokai definitely showed well. He's a name to keep an eye on for BYU going forward. My other takeaway was Jack Kelly just continues to live to all of the hype that was given to him in the preseason. He was the only guy with a sack. That was a little bit, maybe, I don't know if it's, discouraging, only finishing with 1 sack. But Sabota, the Wyoming quarterback, he could escape the pocket. But Jack Kelly's outstanding. And even Mel Kiper from ESPN, longtime NFL draft analyst, he said, quote, today, BYU outside linebacker Jack Kelly was relatively unknown in August, but he's quickly rising up NFL draft boards as I have him 5th at the outside linebacker position after 3 weeks. 5th outside linebacker, you're talking what? Top into the third?
Yeah, 2nd or 3rd, late 2nd, early 3rd.
And you know what? Jack Kelly's speed and measurables and size and his versatility gives him a chance to be a legit NFL draft prospect. Jack Kelly's stock continues to rise.
A lot to break down from the 34-14 win. We've asked you, Cougar Nation, what gives you confidence for this year's 3-0 start for BYU football, and will it lead to more success in Big 12 play? Of course, this question of the day and this show, Cougar Nation, brought to you by Central Bank, voted best bank and mortgage in Utah Valley. Visit us online at cbutah.com. Mitch, we already got a text. Then we'll get out to the phone line. But Texter 1557, they will go 3-9. The first 3 games were patsies.
Not a chance. BYU will not go 3-9. Look, the Big 12's solid, but look, the top of the Big 12 right now, the top teams are Oklahoma State, Utah, Kansas State, Iowa State. All 4 of those teams have had moments where they look very beatable, including K-State, and we'll get to that game coming up a little bit later this hour. But all of them, like there's no team in this league that I've watched, and I've watched all 16 of them at some points this season, and I say, oh my gosh, how does BYU hang with those guys? Not once. And I think that's the nice thing about this league. Now, will BYU stay healthy? They've already been tested in the running back unit, but this league, anything can happen every week, and we see this all the time in college football. 1 week Notre Dame's losing to Northern Illinois, and then they just put up a 66-piece on Purdue on the road, and college football is just an isolated 1 week deal now, it feels like. It no longer is it like, okay, what you've known and seen the last 3 weeks is going to carry over to this game. No, I think that every week you better be locked in, you better be dialed in your scout, and executing at a high level. You can't just assume that something's going to happen. Now, look, BYU, could they lose all 9 games? Maybe, I guess, but I highly doubt it. BYU's going to pull off some upsets, but they're also probably going to be upset as well at stretches. I still think BYU is probably a 6-win team right now, and we'll discuss more of our thoughts on how this rest of the season plays out, but this team is better, and I think that's what's exciting coming out of this 3-0 start is that you are seeing evidence that this team is so much better than what they were through the first 3 games last season.
801-575-8255. Give us a call, Cougar Nation. What gives you confidence in this 3-0 start? You can chime in on Jake Retzlaff as well. Did he show something in that Wyoming game that makes you feel better about him being the quarterback going forward? Let's take a break, Mitch. On the other side, we'll get to some of your calls, some of your texts on 57500, and we'll keep breaking down the BYU win against Wyoming.